with Megatron.
Sentinel Prime is one of those characters who keeps changing depending on which version of the Transformers story you're watching, and that is what makes him so fascinating. Sometimes he's a wise leader who came before Optimus Prime. Other times he's a traitor whose choices nearly doom Cybertron itself. He's one of those characters who simply cannot be characterized as a hero or a villain. His moral complexity makes him more fascinating than villains like Megatron or Unicron. Whenever Sentinel Prime appears on screen, it easily means that he is going to change the entire storyline. He's the turning point, whether he's from ancient Cybertronian lore or someone who betrays the Transformers. In some timelines, he's a mentor, and in others, he's the reason everything falls apart. In this video, we're going to be exploring every origin of Sentinel Prime across the Transformers multiverse, breaking down who he was, where he came from, and how he shaped the fate of Cybertron in each version. Because trust me, by the end of this, you might start seeing Sentinel Prime very differently. So, let's begin. How was Sentinel Prime first hinted at in G1 animation? If we talk about the G1 cartoon, then it's interesting to note that Sentinel Prime technically didn't exist in the cartoon. Yet, it gives us an idea of him that the later adaptations expand on. The closest we get to his first appearance is in the Transformers Season 3 Episode 5, Faces of Darkness, Part 4, where Optimus Prime enters the Matrix of Leadership and witnesses fragments of Cybertron's ancient past. He finds the spirits of the ancient Autobots who show him the origin of the Transformers. Inside the Matrix, Optimus sees a vision of a time when Cybertron was built by the Quintessons, who manufactured Transformers as slave labor. The Quintessons became ruthless and authoritative, often destroying and recycling the Transformers to get more work out of them. They also used the robots as entertainment, making them fight against each other. Soon the robots started rebelling against the Quintessons. They attacked the Quintessons, who fled from the planet and took over Cybertron. The cartoon shows an unnamed blue figure, a gladiator fighter, who leads the revolt against the Quintessons. He's never given a name, but he represents the first spark of resistance and becomes the first leader to challenge oppression and liberate Cybertron. This scene is important as it shows that there were important figures who came before Optimus Prime. He's a proto-prime who came before Optimus Prime and led the Transformers to freedom, but this freedom is short-lived as the Transformers start to fight amongst themselves. The Autobots, who were built as consumer goods, want to lead a peaceful life, but the Decepticons, who were built as military hardware, wanted conquest and destruction. They started terrorizing the Autobots, and for centuries, they fought with them. But fighting them with military power wasn't possible, so Autobots learned the art of transformation, which helped them gain an edge, and they ruled over the Decepticons for centuries. Soon, the Decepticons also learned how to transform. Megatron was born, and he is shown to have killed the Blue Revolutionary figure. The Matrix of Leadership was passed on to Alpha Trion, who passed it to Orion Pax. The unnamed Blue Revolutionary feels like a prototype for Sentinel Prime. He is still not a part of the lore here, but he is an early mythic image of Sentinel, even though the show never confirms it. When was Sentinel Prime first properly named in Marvel Comics? The G1 cartoon gives us an unconfirmed, unnamed glimpse into a character that could be Sentinel Prime, but when is he properly named in the Transformers multiverse? We find a direct reference to Sentinel Prime in the Marvel Comics. In the US version of the Transformers, issue number 65, Sentinel Prime is named for the very first time. The Matrix is in the void in space and has no idea how long it has been there for, but at this moment, they are slowly gaining their consciousness. He emerges as the voice of the creation matrix itself, which experiences different sensations like pain and noise and declares, "We are Primus, we are Prima, we are Prime Nova, we are Sentinel Prime, we are Optimus Prime." During the story, the Matrix becomes corrupted, transforming into what is often referred to as the Dark Matrix, and exhibits sentience. It just shows that the Matrix is a repository of all the identities of the Primes. It also goes on to show that Sentinel Prime came before Optimus Prime. Sentinel Prime is placed alongside figures like Prima and Optimus Prime, effectively confirming that he belongs to a lineage of legendary leaders. Interestingly, Sentinel Prime exists as a name, but there is no detailed backstory to him. Now, if we look at the UK version of the comic, it gives us a small glimpse of Sentinel Prime. In issue number 150, the story follows Death's Head, who enters Unicron's mind to revolt against his mind control. Unicron is impressed with his guts, so he begins to tell him the tale of his origin. In his story, Unicron predates the universe and is a force of chaos and destruction. Primus opposes him, but he's too strong for Primus, so he tricks Unicron and traps him in an asteroid. While stuck inside the asteroid, Primus turned himself into a habitable world and created the Transformers. He knew Unicron would return, so he infused his life essence into the Matrix, which passed down from leader to leader. This is where we get a glimpse of Sentinel Prime, who seems to be dying, so he passes down the Matrix to Optimus Prime. While Sentinel Prime doesn't take center stage as an active character, he is established as a leader of the Transformers, someone who preceded Optimus Prime. Sentinel Prime isn't given a story in this issue, nor is he addressed by his name. His story contributes to the growing understanding that there were multiple Primes before Optimus, and each one of them was a part of a long chain of leadership that stretches back to the very beginning of Cybertronian history. How does Dreamwave's The War Within show his death? Dreamwave's The War Within begins with the words, "Sentinel Prime is dead." The panel shows a giant yellow robotic hand with everything in the background going up in flames. This issue is actually inspired by the G1 cartoon, where Megatron killed Sentinel Prime during the conflict between Autobots and Decepticons. His death is shown as a flashback, just one panel with no backstory, and there is no Matrix in sight. In the Cybertron capital, Bluestreak tells Optimus all the details about how Sentinel Prime died. He tells him how easily Megatron ripped Sentinel Prime's spark core from his torso. Interestingly here, Optimus isn't a soldier, he's an archivist, and the details of war do not bother him at all. After the death of Sentinel Prime, the Autobots are losing every battle. They keep withdrawing from fights because they do not have a strong leader to lead them. Soon the High Council tells Optimus that the Matrix has chosen him to be the new Prime. Later, when Optimus Prime fights Megatron, Megatron reveals his plan. He wishes to stop the Autobot resistance and completely rebuild Cybertron in his own image. Megatron enjoys taunting and fighting Optimus Prime, and seems to be winning too. Let's cut some slack to Optimus. Just a little time ago, he was an archivist, not a soldier. Anyways, Megatron taunts him by saying that he hopes Optimus will give him a better fight. His predecessor, Sentinel Prime, tried to plead with Megatron by using doctrine and sermon when he faced his own death. When Sentinel Prime realized he could not win his fight against Megatron, he tried to reason with him to stop him from going down the warpath. But he failed, and with him failed the very last hope of peace between the Autobots and the Decepticons. That is what makes their encounter tragic. This comic gives us a very vague idea of Sentinel Prime. He doesn't appear except for his hand, and his story is told through others. Even then, his story and his appearance are both very restrained. What is Sentinel Prime's full origin in IDW's 2005 continuity? While the Dreamwave comic mentions Sentinel Prime just in passing, IDW elaborates on the character of Sentinel Prime and finally introduces him to us. In IDW's The Transformers Megatron origin, we finally get an origin for Sentinel Prime. The story begins a long time ago when Cybertron was at peace. The issue starts with the Senator, who arrives at mining outpost C-12. The employees who work at these mines mine for Energon. Senator Decimus tells the workers that they no longer need to work at this mine. The Senate will find another home and another job for them. The workers are aghast because they know the mines still have Energon reserves, until they finally realize what this is about. The Senate wants to automate the work of the miners, which will be cheaper for them. They quickly get angry as they work under pitiful conditions, even when the Senate has an abundance of Energon, while they barely have enough to keep running. The worker who points this out gets shot, while the others are shocked. Megatron, who is also a worker at the mine, flings his axe towards Senator Decimus in anger. When the Senator's security tries to disarm him, Megatron fights back. The rest of the miners also attack the Senator's men. Megatron accidentally kills him and is shocked at his own actions. Finally, the Autobot Riot Control Force shoots the mob and arrests them. The surviving miners are made to board the shuttle Longshot, where they are being carried to Penal Facility, a detention center. Rumble and Frenzy ask Megatron to take the lead, but Megatron is reluctant to do anything. He says he never intended to kill the guy. But Frenzy and Rumble take things into their own hands and attack the guards. But Megatron joins them and they capture the ship. Meanwhile, the ship carrying the Senator suddenly finds that Longshot has deviated from its course. Before they can understand what's happening, the Longshot blasts their vessel. Longshot lands in the city of Kaon. Megatron's plan is revealed. He didn't destroy the vessel so they could escape easily. If they had killed the Senator, the Autobots would be hunting them down. Right now, their priority will be to rescue their Senator, and the rebels can disappear for some time. At the Kaon headquarters, we are finally introduced to Sentinel Prime. Prowl informs him of the incident that took place in space. Sentinel Prime is uninterested and continues practice shooting at targets. He tells Prowl to take care of the matter, as he's not concerned about a whiny Senator. Megatron and the other fugitives become gladiators who fight for money and power. At first, he's uncomfortable killing his opponent. We see him debating crossing the moral line, but once he decides to kill his opponent, he embraces the violence. Over time, Megatron becomes a star attraction in the illegal fights. Meanwhile, the corruption of the Senate is revealed. There are reports of energon shortages, but there are rumors that the Senate has a stockpile of energon. Senator Ratbat soon learns about these illegal fights going on in Kaon, but instead of taking any action against them, he seems very interested in the fights. Prowl presents footage of the gladiatorial violence to his team, and it shows Megatron as their leader. Sentinel Prime joins the team and tells them that he is going to send 8 teams to the most probable venues for future fights. They will send information whenever there is a fight going on, and then they can go and take them down. He publicly vows to kill Megatron. 18 cycles later, they finally get a clue. They realize that the Constructicons build their fighting arenas on site, and for the materials they are using, living Cybertronians. Weasel is thrown into a smelting pool, and the metal from his body is used to construct the arena. The 2 Autobot officers witnessing this secretly are quickly found out, and we see Megatron crushing Fastback to death. Soundwave extracts information from Bumper's mind, and Megatron kills him too. Meanwhile, we see a funeral being held for Fastback and Bumper. Sentinel Prime gives a eulogy at the funeral and vows justice for the fallen soldiers. Somewhere else, a grand statue is unveiled in honor of Senator Decimus, but Megatron interrupts the function and abducts the Senator. Back in Kaon, Megatron unveils the Decepticon insignia and urges all the Transformers to unite as Decepticons. He declares them the strongest, most dangerous beings on Cybertron and promises that all of Cybertron will belong to them. He brings out Senator Decimus and orders a public execution. But before he can do so, the Autobot security forces, led by Prowl and Sentinel Prime, storm the arena. They capture Megatron and all of his followers and bring them to the Autobot security headquarters, which is where they learn that the prison has exceeded its capacity. So, under Senate direction, it is decided that Soundwave will walk away. Sentinel Prime isn't happy with the decision. Starscream offers to testify against Megatron in exchange for his own freedom, and Megatron orders his execution. But before that can happen, Starscream is led away. The prison is at 300% capacity now that Megatron and his allies are in there. Starscream is led away to a special hearing of the Kaon Council. They read his charges, which range from theft to murder. Starscream tells them he has a message from all the prisoners. He tells them that they brought it upon themselves through their own actions. Soundwave and Starscream together launch an attack, and very easily they take out the council members. Turns out it was Megatron who had orchestrated the entire scenario, including Starscream's betrayal, as a way to gather all his enemies in one place. They let all the prisoners escape their jail cells, and Megatron recruits all of them into his army. Megatron asks them to burn everything and everyone without showing any mercy. Sentinel Prime, amidst all this chaos, tried to hold the line and request permission for the Apex facilities, but the rebels have blocked all communications and his request is denied. Soundwave is revealed to be working for Senator Ratbat, who has orchestrated the whole thing. He got Megatron fired from the mines, and he was the one who provided Megatron with weapons to cause this destruction. The Senator has been embezzling all this while, but before he can leave, Soundwave shoots him and takes all of his gains. Sentinel Prime confronts Megatron directly, wearing the massive Apex armor, transforming himself into a heavily armed Juggernaut. He blasts Megatron, and for a moment he believes he managed to kill him, but Megatron rises once more. Megatron says while Sentinel Prime wishes to protect the old order, Megatron wishes to tear down this one and create a new world. They fight, and Megatron manages to mortally wound Prime. When the Autobot forces arrive with Prowl leading, they find Sentinel Prime's broken body and retreat. This is not only the origin of Megatron, but also the origin of the Decepticons, and the story of the embarrassing loss of the Autobots. Sentinel Prime, even in his Apex armor, could not defeat Megatron. Who is Sentinel Prime in Transformers Animated? If you've ever wondered what kind of relationship Sentinel Prime shared with Optimus Prime, then Transformers Animated gives you the answer. It is a deviation from what we've seen so far. Sentinel Prime and Optimus Prime are shown to be of the same rank, as Prime here is an elite guard rank. In Season 2, we find Optimus Prime helping with the repairs that their battle with the Decepticons caused. They're shaken to find out that humans don't trust the Transformers anymore, especially because they see themselves as heroes. A mysterious object seems to have entered the Earth's atmosphere, and Optimus Prime suggests investigating it. As they reach it, the spacecraft opens its door and the elite guards come through. Ultra Magnus, Sentinel Prime, and Jazz arrive, and Optimus Prime salutes Ultra Magnus. There is an immediate tension in the air as Magnus asks for a force field to block out the humans. Jazz seems a bit interested in getting to know them, but Sentinel Prime is openly dismissive, indicating his dislike for humans. Ultra Magnus asks Sentinel Prime to decontaminate Optimus Prime and his team, which he does gladly. Jazz indicates that Sentinel Prime and Optimus Prime share a history, and he asks him not to hassle Optimus's crew. Ultra Magnus tells them he's here for the Allspark, but Optimus explains that the Allspark was destroyed during the battle with Megatron, and the fragments are scattered all around Earth. However, Sentinel accuses him of lying and incompetence, as they didn't find any traces of Decepticons on Earth. Meanwhile, the Decepticons are hiding underground, regrouping after their defeat. Megatron reveals a long-term plan to conquer Cybertron using a space bridge, which will allow them to teleport directly into the planet. Sentinel Prime proudly keeps accusing Optimus Prime. In this version, he's definitely not the serious version of Sentinel Prime we saw in all the other versions. He talks haughtily and playfully, and seems to have a rivalry with Optimus Prime. Ultra Magnus asks Optimus to take him to the location of their battle with the Autobots. Megatron discovers that fragments of the Allspark still exist, confirming that the artifact is not entirely destroyed and can potentially be reclaimed. On the way, the Dinobots attack the Autobots. Sentinel Prime is easily shoved aside as they attack him. Ultra Magnus uses his hammer to scare away the Dinobots. The police drones attack the Autobots, and Sentinel Prime places the entire blame on Optimus Prime, and says that he should be charged with treason for destroying the Allspark. Optimus Prime reminds him that he is a Prime and they have the same rank, even though he got washed out of the Academy. Optimus destroys the console to free the key, and he uncovers a fragment of the Allspark, finally providing proof of his claims. Ultra Magnus acknowledges Optimus's leadership, and when Sentinel Prime still keeps trash-talking Optimus Prime, Ultra shuts him down, praising Optimus's strategic thinking, loyalty, and determination. Compared to Optimus, who tries his best to get along with humans, Sentinel Prime is arrogant and speaks to humans in a very condescending manner. In the episode Along Came a Spider, we are told about the history between Optimus Prime and Sentinel Prime. Optimus Prime goes down memory lane during Halloween when he sees a large spider decoration, and we finally get to see a flashback to his Academy days on Cybertron, when he and Sentinel Prime were classmates. In the past, Optimus Prime and Sentinel Prime, along with Elita 1, were on an unsanctioned mission to an organic planet. Here, Optimus Prime and Sentinel Prime seem to be friends. Sentinel Prime plans to find Energon on the planet, while Elita 1 wants to learn more about the history. Optimus Prime is reluctant to explore, saying they're not allowed to venture into lands with organic beings. But he goes with them anyway. The ground collapses beneath them, sending all three into a dark cavern. Optimus Prime comes across what seems like oval-shaped energy, but from it emerges giant alien spiders. Optimus Prime and Elita try fighting the spiders, but before they can escape, Elita falls deeper within the chasm and is stuck in the webbing. Sentinel jumps in to help, but Optimus tells him they have no time. The ship will blow, and he pulls Sentinel out of the cavern. When Sentinel tells them they have to go back for Elita, Optimus Prime says he cannot find her energy signal. Sentinel attacks him and pins all the blame on Optimus. In the present, Black Arachnia is revealed to be Elita 1, transformed after being infected by the spider's venom during the incident years ago. Her body has become a hybrid of organic and Cybertronian. She reveals that she survived the fall, but she was mutated and abandoned. In her eyes, both Optimus and Sentinel are responsible. In the third season, we see more of the dynamic between Sentinel Prime and Optimus Prime. Aboard an elite guard ship in space, Sentinel Prime is in charge. He is attempting to interrogate captured Decepticons, hoping to extract information about ongoing attacks on Autobot outposts. His approach to the investigation is ineffective and arrogant, relying completely on intimidation. The Autobot High Council plans on revealing the news of the assault on Ultra Magnus, but Sentinel Prime refuses, saying they must wait till he gets back and takes control of the situation. The High Council refuses to acknowledge his authority, so Sentinel Prime tells Jazz to take the shortcut and go full speed through an energy cloud. Jazz is reluctant but obliges, but while going through the energy cloud, it energizes the Swindle. Using Swindle's sonic jammer, the Decepticons disable the ship's alarms and launch a sudden, coordinated attack on the bridge. Jazz and Sentinel fight together to take back control, but they are overwhelmed. The Decepticons overpower the elite guard, and quite embarrassingly, Sentinel is defeated and captured aboard his own ship. Now he has no way except to call for help, so he secretly sends a coded distress signal to Optimus Prime, using an old Academy phrase, "Broken Lance." He chooses not to contact Cybertron, as doing so would mean admitting his failure to his superior. Back on Earth, Optimus receives the message and immediately recognizes that it must be from Sentinel, as during the Academy days, Sentinel only used that phrase when he landed in trouble for doing something he shouldn't be doing. Optimus Prime and his team use the space bridge to reach the elite guard ship and begin rescuing the captured Autobots. Despite being saved, Sentinel shows no gratitude whatsoever. Instead, he continues to assert authority, acting as though he is still in control. Optimus takes command of the situation, devising a plan to trap the Decepticons using the ship's systems. Meanwhile, Sentinel insists that others follow his orders, despite his earlier failure. During a fight, Optimus uses Sentinel as a weapon, launching him at Lugnut during the fight. Later, Sentinel Prime grudgingly acknowledges Optimus's plan and offers him a position on the Elite Guard, which he'll be vacating when he takes Ultra Magnus's place as Magnus. It shows that somewhere down the line, he has developed a respect for his mate. Optimus Prime politely refuses and says he has lots to do on Earth. On Cybertron, Sentinel Prime publicly presents the Decepticon prisoners and publicly vows to hunt down Shockwave for his attack on Ultra Magnus. He rallies the public to accept him as their new Magnus. On Cybertron, the planet is under strict lockdown. Sentinel Prime, who is now acting Magnus and who has taken control of security measures in response to rising Decepticon threats, has even revealed a propaganda-like message to all the citizens, urging them to report suspicious behavior. Civilian areas are heavily monitored, and even social hubs like McAdam's old oil house have been shut down for being subversive. When Sentinel encounters Ratchet and Fanzone, he is hostile. He is more outraged that a human has been brought to Cybertron. They confront him for his fear-mongering message, but Sentinel demands to know how they reached Cybertron. Ratchet tries to explain, but Sentinel is not really interested. He wishes to detain them instead. Omega Supreme appears in Cybertron's orbit, unknowingly carrying Megatron and the Decepticons. Sentinel proposes firing Cybertron's massive defense cannons at Omega Supreme, despite the catastrophic risk. Ratchet strongly objects, warning that the unstable transwarp energy inside Omega could trigger an explosion powerful enough to destroy all of Cybertron. Despite being overruled by members of the Autobot High Council like Alpha Trion and Perceptor, Sentinel refuses to back down. Sentinel's leadership continues to unravel, and his paranoia and authoritarianism make Jazz, who has been loyal to the Elite Guard, begin to lose faith in Sentinel's judgment. Ultimately, Sentinel is too wrapped up in preparing for his own plan that the real danger slips past him. Shockwave successfully infiltrates the facility and allows Megatron to regain control over Omega Supreme. Sentinel fails to stop the actual threat. By the end of the episode, Sentinel is confronted with the consequences of his actions. The Autobot Council reprimands him for his reckless decisions. Meanwhile, Jazz chooses to leave the Elite Guard, unable to continue serving under Sentinel's leadership, and goes to join the Autobots on Earth. Sentinel Prime in Transformers the Animation is petty and arrogant, but he's not an outright villain. He is not a mentor to Optimus Prime, but his classmate, and their relationship is what makes their dynamics interesting. What is Sentinel Zeta Prime in the aligned continuity? In aligned continuity War for Cybertron, Sentinel Zeta Prime stands as one of the most important figures in the Transformers mythos. Millions of years ago, Zeta Prime stood as the last surviving Prime, leading the Autobot defenses of Iacon during Megatron's assault. When Megatron defeated him, he was taken to the Kaon prison to be tortured by Shockwave. There he sends out an SOS to the Autobots. This is, however, Megatron's plan to lure and trap Optimus Optimus Prime, who has taken control after Zeta Prime's arrest. When Optimus Prime arrives with an Autobot team to rescue Zeta, Shockwave shoots Zeta. Optimus jumps in front of Zeta to save him, and it just goes on to show how much respect he has for his Prime, that he is willing to sacrifice himself. Zeta gets mortally wounded from his fight with Megatron, so Optimus takes his body home to the High Council of Elders. They appoint Optimus to succeed Zeta Prime. In this version, Zeta doesn't hand over the matrix of leadership to Optimus. In Transformers Exodus, Cybertron is portrayed as a society riddled with inequality, where society has stagnated under a rigid caste system. Every Transformer emerging from the well of all sparks is assigned a role they can never escape. The upper caste dominates science and governance, while the lower castes are condemned to labor in mines and factories. Sentinel understands these problems and believes he can reform the system, unlike Megatron, who sees destruction as the only path. Megatron is a gladiator. The corruption in Kaon has given rise to gladiatorial combat. Megatron used to be a nameless laborer who rose among the ranks in these battles. Taking inspiration from one of the original 13 Primes, he calls himself Megatronus, but fans begin to call him Megatron. Megatron is someone who rises as a revolutionary voice for the oppressed, but gradually descends into extremism. Orion Pan is a data clerk who works in the Hall of Records. He is tasked to monitor Megatron's speeches and report them to the High Council. Orion is someone who is also disillusioned with the caste system and finds himself inspired by Megatron's vision of a free Cybertron where individuals choose their own destiny. Orion is advised to meet Megatron by his mentor Alpha Trion. He also cryptically hints that both are destined for something greater. Orion travels to Kaon and meets Megatron. Orion and Megatron engage in intense philosophical debates. While both agree that Cybertron must change, their methods differ, with Megatron advocating for revolution through force, while Orion believes in reform through inspiration and unity. As Megatron's movement grows, so does its violence. A series of terrorist attacks spreads chaos across Cybertron, carried out by followers claiming allegiance to him. Megatron publicly denies involvement, insisting he neither knows nor controls the perpetrators. The violence escalates when a bomb targets a casino in Altahex, where Sentinel Prime is present. His guards, Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker, appear to evacuate him, but instead betray him, delivering him into Megatron's custody in Kaon. Megatron is tempted to kill Sentinel, but Starscream stops him because he sees Sentinel as a strategic asset. In an attempt to prevent full-scale war, Alpha Trion arranges for Orion and Megatron to present their case before the High Council. The Council is deeply resistant to change and views Megatron as a dangerous criminal. Though Megatron continues to deny orchestrating the attacks, he openly calls for the abolition of the caste system and even the Council itself. His words resonate with the oppressed masses who begin calling themselves Decepticons. Orion makes a more hopeful appeal and says that he envisions a Cybertron where every individual is recognized as autonomous and free, invoking the ancient term Autobot to describe this ideal. Impressed by his integrity, the Council appoints Orion as Cybertron's new leader, grants him the title Optimus Prime, and tasks him with recovering the lost matrix of leadership. Megatron sees this as a betrayal, a manipulation by the system he seeks to destroy. In a rage, he murders a council member, igniting chaos. Optimus manages to prevent further bloodshed within the council chambers, but finally Cybertron descends into war. The Autobots are pushed back, holding only Iacon and Colossus, while the Decepticons dominate the rest of the planet. In a desperate move, the Autobots launch the Allspark into space to keep it out of Megatron's reach. Seeking ultimate power, Megatron goes to Trypticon Station and demands access to its reserves of Dark Energon, a corrupt and immensely powerful substance. The Decepticons consume it, gaining overwhelming strength and turning the tide of war completely in their favor. Megatron then targets Cybertron's core, planning to infuse it with Dark Energon. This would permanently empower his forces while poisoning the planet and dooming the Autobots to extinction. He murders Sentinel Prime to obtain the key and moves to enact his plan. The Autobots respond by reactivating Omega Supreme, a colossal guardian capable of transforming into both a city and a spacecraft. Omega attempts to carry the chamber to safety, but Starscream leads an aerial assault that brings him down. Empowered by Dark Energon, Megatron crushes all resistance and succeeds in corrupting the chamber, sending it back into Cybertron's core. As the Dark Energon spreads, Optimus Prime, along with Bumblebee and Jetfire, ventures into the planet's core to stop it. They manage to extract the chamber, halting the corruption. There, Optimus encounters Primus, the living essence of Cybertron itself. Primus reveals that while the planet can heal, it will take centuries, and until then, it cannot sustain its population. The Transformers must either leave or face extinction. Primus entrusts Optimus with the Matrix of Leadership, containing the wisdom of all past primes. With no other choice, Optimus orders a mass evacuation. However, most Autobot ships are destroyed by Trypticon Station. One vessel, the 8-track, manages to sabotage the station, causing it to crash, but in its final act, Trypticon transforms into a monstrous city-sized beast and unleashes destruction. Realizing Cybertron can no longer be saved in the immediate future, Alpha Trion orders the construction of the Ark, the largest starship ever built, to carry the Autobots into exile. Some remain behind, including Alpha Trion, Jetfire, and a repaired Omega Supreme, to defend what little remains. As the Ark launches, Megatron responds by transforming Trypticon into the warship Nemesis, leading the Decepticons in pursuit. Both ships race towards the last functioning space bridge. Despite uncertainty, the bridge activates, transporting them into uncharted space. Emerging alone, the Ark detects a faint signal, the lost Allspark. Optimus orders the crew to follow it, and so the Autobots' journey into the unknown begins. By merging the narratives of Exodus and War for Cybertron, the aligned continuity establishes that Sentinel is not just a fallen leader, but the direct predecessor to Optimus Prime. Before his end, he recognizes that the war cannot be won by strength alone. The Autobots need a leader who can inspire hope and unity in a world that is falling apart. Zeta Prime from War for Cybertron and Sentinel Prime from Transformers Exodus, when combined, form a complete and deeply compelling story of the last true Prime of Cybertron's old era, and the one who directly passes the mantle to Orion Pax, who will become Optimus Prime. Sentinel Zeta Prime's legacy, therefore, is not defined by victory, but by succession. He does not live to see the war end, yet his influence is felt in every action Optimus takes, in every choice guided by compassion, justice, and resilience. Sentinel represents the end of one era, but also the foundation of the next. How does Dark of the Moon reinvent him as a fallen hero? In Transformers Dark of the Moon, Sentinel Prime undergoes one of the most dramatic and controversial transformations, from revered mentor to tragic antagonist. Where earlier continuities like the Aligned Universe portray him as a predecessor to Optimus Prime, Dark of the Moon flips that idea. At the beginning of the film, Sentinel Prime is introduced as a near mythical figure. He is spoken of with reverence, also like a relic of a better time. He was Optimus Prime's mentor, the leader of the Autobots before Optimus took command, and the last great symbol of Cybertron's golden age. His ship, the Ark, is said to have carried technology capable of saving their dying planet. But the Ark never reached its destination. Instead, it crash-landed on the moon during Cybertron's final days, and Sentinel was presumed lost, frozen in stasis. The story builds Sentinel up as something almost sacred, a true leader. When Optimus and the Autobots finally reach the Ark to recover Sentinel's body, there is a sense of awe and anticipation. Bringing him back feels like restoring a lost piece of their identity. Using the Matrix of Leadership, Optimus revives him, and for a brief moment, everything aligns with expectation. Sentinel awakens and has a calm, wise, almost grandfatherly presence. His voice, brought to life by Leonard Nimoy, adds to this effect, carrying a quiet authority and warmth. In these early scenes, Sentinel appears exactly as the Autobots want him to be. He speaks of peace, of restoring Cybertron, of gratitude toward Optimus. There is no hint of malice, no overt sign that anything is wrong. This makes what comes next all the more devastating. Without warning, Sentinel reveals his true allegiance and murders Ironhide in cold blood, a shocking act that instantly shatters the illusion. This is calculated betrayal, and in that moment, the film redefines him completely. Sentinel is not working for Megatron in the traditional sense. He is not a subordinate, nor is he driven by a desire for conquest or destruction. Instead, he has formed a secret alliance with Megatron for the restoration of Cybertron. But where Optimus believes in protecting life, human and Cybertronian alike, Sentinel sees survival as the only priority. To him, Earth is just a resource. Sentinel does not see himself as a villain. In his mind, he is the only one willing to make the hard choices. He believes that the Autobots under Optimus have become too attached to humanity, too sentimental to do what is necessary. He genuinely believes that sacrificing Earth to rebuild Cybertron is justified. He plans to use the space bridge pillars he originally transported aboard the Ark. Sentinel activates a system that allows him to pull Cybertron itself into Earth's orbit. He intends to use Earth as a new foundation, effectively enslaving humanity to rebuild Cybertron. Cities become construction zones and humans become labor. The Autobots who are opposing him become obstacles to be eliminated. Sentinel doesn't revel in destruction, nor does he behave as a tyrant. While Megatron thrives on domination and power, Sentinel operates from a place of cold pragmatism. His relationship with Optimus Prime is the emotional core of this transformation. For Optimus, Sentinel isn't just a leader, he is a mentor, someone he respects and idolizes that makes the betrayal deeply personal. Optimus represents hope, the belief that life is worth protecting. Sentinel represents sacrifice on a massive scale, the idea that some lives can be discarded for the greater good. So Sentinel sees Optimus as naive. He believes that Optimus's compassion is a weakness, that it blinds him to reality. Optimus, on the other hand, sees Sentinel as having lost his way, someone who once stood for something greater but now has abandoned it. Their conflict is ultimately about what it truly means to lead. This tension culminates in the final act during the Battle of Chicago, where everything collapses into chaos. The Decepticons occupy the city, the space bridge is active, and Cybertron looms in the sky like a dying god. Sentinel stands at the center of it all, orchestrating the transformation of Earth into a new Cybertronian stronghold. But even his alliance with Megatron is built on unstable ground. Megatron ultimately turns on Sentinel, and he attacks Sentinel, delivering a crippling blow that leaves both of them severely damaged. Optimus stands over Sentinel, who is wounded but still defiant. Even now, Sentinel does not beg for forgiveness, nor does he repent. Instead, he tries to justify his actions, to convince Optimus that what he did was necessary, that he was trying to save their race. Optimus makes his decision and he executes Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime in Dark of the Moon is a cautionary figure. His intentions, at least initially, come from a place of responsibility. He wants to save Cybertron. He wants to ensure the survival of his people, but in prioritizing that goal above all else, he sacrifices the very principles that made him worthy of leadership in the first place. How does Transformers 1 completely reimagine his role? Transformers 1 reinterprets Sentinel Prime and rebuilds him as the architect of Cybertron's corruption. This is easily his most openly villainous incarnation, as he is shown as someone who was never worthy of grace to begin with. He is shown to be the last noble Prime, but he is ultimately a ruler who manufactures his own legend. That means he has lied about it. From the moment we are introduced to Sentinel Prime in Iacon, he is framed as a symbol. He is the last Prime, the supposed survivor of a lost golden age, the one who carries the legacy of Cybertron's greatest leaders. Citizens look up to him, and his presence commands reverence. He speaks with authority, calm and measured, reinforcing the illusion that Cybertron is stable under his guidance. Voiced by John Hamm, Sentinel exudes a polished confidence that immediately makes him believable as a leader. He is charismatic and has a serious demeanor that makes people trust him to be their leader. But that's just a performance, because Transformers 1 slowly reveals that Sentinel's entire identity is built on a lie. The lie he told the citizens pointed out the Quintessons who wiped out the previous Primes, and he alone survived to carry on their legacy. This narrative gives the people an external enemy, a convenient scapegoat, while elevating Sentinel as both victim and savior. It's a perfect story, as it paints him as the victim and the victor, but as Orion Pax and D-16 begin to question the inconsistencies in the world around them, that story begins to unravel. Sentinel was the one who caused the fall of the Primes. It is revealed during the film that Sentinel orchestrated the deaths of the other Primes himself. He betrayed them to rise to power, and he wanted to position himself as the sole inheritor of their legacy, which also made the people of Cybertron sympathize with him and naturally accept him as their leader. He doesn't just manipulate history, but he also restructures the way Cybertron society functions. Under Sentinel's rule, the planet is deeply hierarchical, with entire classes of Cybertronians denied the ability to transform. This is actually normalized and justified as the natural order of things. Everyone has a place, and stepping outside of it is nearly impossible. Secretly, Sentinel is allied with the Quintessons, while painting the facade that they are the enemies of Cybertron. In exchange for maintaining his grip on power, Sentinel has been funneling Cybertron's energon to the Quintessons, slowly draining the planet's resources. It's a quiet betrayal, one that ensures long-term destruction. He steals Megatronus Prime's transformation cog, and by stealing Megatronus's cog, Sentinel is taking power that was never meant to be his, and forcing it into himself, which violates the very existence of what a Prime should be. When Orion Pax and D-16 begin to uncover the truth, they threaten everything that Sentinel has worked to build. They threaten the entire fabricated history of Cybertron and the trust people have in Sentinel. Sentinel quickly captures D16 and brands the symbol of Megatronus into D16's chest, an act of psychological torture. It's a deliberate attempt to break him and strip him of agency and identity. But instead of destroying D16, it has the opposite effect. It becomes the catalyst for his transformation into Megatron. It ends up being his unraveling as he ends up forging the very thing that will one day tear Cybertron apart. D16's pain, his anger, his sense of betrayal, all of it can be traced back to Sentinel's cruelty. The future war between Autobots and Decepticons is born from moments like this, shaped by the actions of those in power. His relationship with Orion Pax, on the other hand, is more complicated. Where D16 is pushed toward rage, Orion is pushed toward responsibility. He sees the truth, understands the weight of it, and chooses a different path. This divergence is crucial because it highlights what Sentinel fundamentally fails to understand. By this point, Sentinel is no longer hiding. His true nature is fully exposed, and his authority is being challenged directly. Yet, even now, he clings to the belief that he deserves to rule. And then, he tries to claim the Matrix of leadership, and throughout the Transformers lore, the Matrix serves as a symbol of worthiness. It chooses its bearer. It cannot be taken by force nor claimed through deception. So, when Sentinel attempts to take it, it rejects him and disappears. This is what makes Transformers 1 such a powerful reinvention of the character. It takes the idea of Sentinel Prime and flips it completely. It shapes Orion into the leader he will become. He shaped D16 into Megatron. He shaped Orion into Optimus Prime. He shapes Cybertron into the battlefield it is destined to be. In a way, Sentinel Prime in Transformers 1 is not just a villain, he is the origin of everything. Sentinel Prime has never been just one thing, and that's exactly what makes him so fascinating. Across continuities, he shifts between a wise mentor, fallen leader, political symbol, and colleague to Optimus Prime. In some stories, he's the embodiment of what a Prime should be. In others, he's a warning of what happens when power, pride, and control go unchecked. What makes Sentinel truly compelling is that he often stands at the turning point of the Transformers mythos. His actions don't just shape the present, they define the future. Without him, there is no Optimus Prime as we know him. And maybe that's the real legacy of Sentinel Prime. Let me know in the comments which version of Sentinel Prime is your absolute favorite. Thanks for staying till the end. I'll see you at the next one.